All right, guys. Is it echoing? No. Okay,
No.
good. Awesome. Okay, it was echoing a little. We had a little tech issue earlier. So my name is Dr. Sharnael Wolverton Sehon. Been a minute since I've been live here. I'm with Swiftfire True TV. Super excited because we share the truth. We talk about the truth. Oh my God, go figure. In this world, truth exists. You don't have to look for it. It's out there already. It's just a matter of surrendering to all the things that are out there and bypassing to get to the actual truth. And I got some really amazing truthers here on us on the show today. I've had all of them on before, and I've been on their shows, and we're all just kind of back together to talk about something specific that's really on my heart right now, and that is God is in control. And what does that even mean in this sense of reality and where we're at as a world right now? I was going to say a state or a nation. It's actually a worldwide issue. And many of you know who are watching, and many of you who are on today's show, we've all been faced with, coming from our background and then being where we're at now, just sharing truth, presenting truth, putting it out there, and having the response pretty consistently, well, God's in control, or I'm just going to keep my eyes on Jesus, or, those kind of autopilot programmed responses that I used to participate in and actually believed at one point. And now I do still believe in it, but I just see it a little bit different. And so I would love for anyone who's watching to also please pipe in with questions and or what do you think God is in control means in this season of time? Because I'm talking about the subject of the worldwide situation, which I won't say because of censorship, but an automatic response many, many times is just have faith in Jesus, or we can't wait till Jesus comes back, and or it's okay because God is in control, which also kind of reminds me of, well, the white hats are in control, which is also annoying. So I would love to start. We'll just go around with Carmen, and then we'll loop around to Lucas and Craig. I don't know how you see this in Hollywood Squares or whatever, but love your response, Carmen. What do you think?
So first of all, I love that you began this whole thing with the concept of truth. And truth is absolutely a presence. It's something that you can befriend, and that relationship can expand with the energy that you put towards it, to the point that you no longer have to seek truth. Truth starts coming to you. And I think that just anyone that's here, keeping an open mind, because you might be being brought to whatever the next level of truth is. Even if you completely disagree, it could trigger questions that may bring you around a totally different way. And that's why, Dr. Sharnael, you and I have talked about millions of times not to judge anyone's journey, because God is orchestrating all, source, intelligent design, whatever you want to call it. I love God. I no longer consider myself a Christian. I consider myself a Christ follower. And one of the benefits of doing that is being really tight with that friend called truth. The other thing that I was thinking about as you were talking is, if each person were not to go outside and try to control all of the circumference things that are going on, and just hold their own truth, their own love, their own joy, they wouldn't have to wait on the kingdom, because the kingdom is already there. The problem is we're waiting on all the other people who are still trying to control the circumference and not staying centered. And so to me, it's more of a, please stop trying to grasp at the film on the projection, on the movie screen, and go back into the film and edit the kind of life that you want to live. And then God orchestrates the rest. And he's always orchestrating. I mean, there is no, I say he, but everything is always done and there. We have just to realize it. And as long as we're looking outside, it will never come. And God is not outside of us. We don't wait for God. God is a power that comes through us once we allow it.
Yes. And just to piggyback on that, I actually had a situation this week. I'm not going to say who or what, but the person, I did a coaching session. We worked through those paradigms of deprogramming, reprogramming. And then later she came back because something happened to her husband and they were in ER. And she sent me a text and was like, this is a satanic attack, cancel clear. And she didn't say cancel clear. I am saying that. And then she said, this is just spiritual warfare, blah, blah, blah. And this is a person of grand influence, literally on every platform of all platforms. So, and I had already talked to her about decrees. And so I went back and I said, first of all, do you as a person in authority love that you just decreed what you just decreed? Are you okay with that in the position that you're in to make those decrees, even if it's through a text? That means that it's in your mind and in your mouth and what you're talking about. And also, it's when you walk into a room that's dark, you don't have to shoot everything to get the lights on. You just turn the lights on. Mm-hmm. And, she said, well, this is a spiritual attack. And she said, because someone called me and told me that it was last night. I got a call in the middle of the night. And I said, that was you baiting them and using them. I mean, that was you using them to bait you into an old program that you already had. And you're just using them to confirm that you're right because you want to be right, that this is a spiritual attack, because then you don't have any responsibility in the fact of what's going on with him. And the truth is, this is not a spiritual thing. This is a pacemaker that broke. Shit breaks. And if you reframe it, you could say, thank God that he copped that this was brought to your attention, that the pacemaker broke, so you could go get it fixed and you can have a long life. Right. So it's just perspective of, if we keep blaming the devil for everything that's on the earth and not being responsible, whether we're blaming the devil for everything or we're waiting on God to do everything, then we don't have to do anything because it's just happening to us, cancel clear, and or there's no responsibility in anything that we do. Go for it, Lucas.
Well, all of that is beautiful. And the Christian church, the people that have this paradigm still that is so strong of living in fear, and that's what it is. And what I say, the Bible says that perfect love casts out fear. So if you're in fear, what are you lacking? Perfect love. God is love. Bible says in 1 John 1:9 that God is light, and in him there is no darkness at all. Zero. So if there's darkness, we can say, oh, where is there a lack? What is there a lack of? God and truth and beauty and goodness and freedom and sovereignty and all these things. And the fact that God is love, then this is where it gets really interesting. I talk to a lot of people so I Jewish mom, Catholic dad, Jewish family, study with Hasidic rabbis weekly. The word love in Hebrew is the word ahava, and ahava means to give. So why is love unconditional? Because it does not look at you and say, well, what it is unconditionally giving to you exactly what frequency you're in. Period. Nothing there's no one to blame. There's no one to say, well, they did, I did. It's not going to be like God coming to Adam and being like, where are you? Even though God knows where he is, because he needed Adam to say, here I am, I'm naked, miserable, poor, blind, and naked, and you caught me and I messed up. He says, I heard your voice and I was afraid and I hid myself. Because I was naked. Who told you were naked? Did you do what I said not to do? And then what does mankind always do? The woman. So God says to the woman, and he says, woman, what'd you do? The serpent. So human nature is always to blame and divert accountability to say, actually, I'm here right now receiving what I'm receiving because of my choice, my frequency. And God, who is unconditional love, which means to give, will give you exactly what you choose. And so if we walk in the light as he is in the light, we're free. But if we choose not to go to that place where light is and stay in darkness or stay in the confusion or stay in the fray and think that we are somehow greater than universal law, it is not that God is not real. It is not that truth is not powerful to make us free. It is that we have not, as humanity, taken accountability to be like, I'm not free, therefore I'm not in truth. I'm in darkness, therefore I'm not in light. It's as simple as that. So yes, God is in control in so much that his universal laws can never be broken and will never be broken. It is us that confuses what the law is. And I don't mean legalism of like Genesis to Revelation chapter 22. I mean, you touch a hot stove, you will be burned. You can say that no weapon formed against me shall prosper and keep touching that hot stove and your skin will fall off. And then God's saying, do you see that your skin's falling off? But God, you said no weapon formed against me will prosper, not affect you, not give you exactly what you know. So anyway, that's I'll stop, but I love it all.
That's awesome. We only get what we are, and that is the law. And
that's it.
I think the program is, when we say God is in control, it's more of a, I don't have to be responsible because God's doing all this and he's going to come and fix it in the end. And so I just get a pass. And, but we're commissioned to occupy. We're co-missioned, meaning we're participating in this to occupy. What does occupy mean? To take dominion.
Yes.
You're not taking dominion if you're sitting on the couch waiting for someone to do it for you. So to me, at least in my experience, the program of God is in control doesn't mean what we're talking about, as in God in us take the action steps to occupy and take dominion in the kingdom and the kingdom of this realm and my biofield and the earth biofield kingdom. So Craig, what do you say?
I agree with what you're all saying. I come from, I sort of dabble with a lot of the grace camps, the grace movement, and I have a lot of friends in that environment. And I'm a grace guy, I say this to a lot of people. I'm all about grace and forgiveness and vibing high. And there's a double-edged sword with that community, really, because yes, that they're all about like the inner bliss and the joy and just staying in the happy place and all that kind of stuff, which is great. And that is a part of vibing high. But there's also this denial of what's going on around them. There's this, like, if you look at that, if you go into that territory and that arena, or you're going to get contaminated, or it'll ruin your joy, or all this sort of stuff. And I'm like, so what I'm finding is, they sort of say, we'll leave it to God. God will sort that out. We just have to just be partying all the time. And all the while, kids are being trafficked while they're partying. You know what I mean? Something's got to change here. Someone's got to take responsibility for this, like you're saying, Sharnael. I fully appreciate the grace message and staying in a place. And I really admire the people that have managed to do that, because I've not done that very well over the past 18 months. I've had my down days and down times with everything that's going on. And I've always been inspired by the people that manage to stay sort of light and high vibrational. Certainly even in spiritual circles, I've found that there's like acknowledging the bad stuff is somehow unspiritual, and that's not true. You have to take the whole lump, and we're here to transmute that and transform it into a benevolent existence here on this planet. And a lot of these people just sort of say, well, God will deal with all that kind of stuff, and we just have to be here and just get drunk in the Holy Spirit, or whatever it is that people do. And I'm here like, I'm seeing this bad stuff going on, and I'm like, who's going to take responsibility for this? And I personally believe that what's happening right now is, because it's a very strange time. I don't know if anybody's noticed. It's like we're kind of in limbo, and it's like, what's actually going on at the moment? I truly believe that this is a time when those who are going to be sort of the pioneers and the leaders of the next age, are stepping up now. And I believe that you guys are it. I believe we're all it. That us who are having these conversations, who are saying, sort of encouraging people to take responsibility in their own lives, in their communities, in their government, whatever. in whatever sphere of influence they're called to. Now's the time to step up and be God in control. Where is God? God is in us, and we are God's address. And we have been sent here for this time now, to manifest heaven on earth. And ignoring what's going on and not being involved, in my opinion, is a disservice to the planet. And we need to be aware and fully engaged and activated. And the same applies in the political arena as well, like you alluded to before, Sharnael. President 45 will sort it out. He'll come back one day and sort it out. Or, like you say, the white hats. And I'm sure there are operations going on in that arena, but it's not about a political figure. It's not about a religious, spiritual leader. It's about us. We're here now to be who we've been sent here to be. And our DNA is being activated and awakened. I don't know if you've noticed. Some people are just like being triggered and like being awakened. And it's tough, but it's also very liberating. I mean, we talk about this stuff all the time, Sharnael. And I just think it's time for people to wake up and realize we are the change we've been waiting for. The change starts within. We're the ones sent here to do the work from a place of union with God. God's saying, when are you going to wake up? When are they going to wake up? He's waiting for us. We don't be waiting for him. So I'll end it with that.
That's awesome. Well, and with that being said, I have a clip that I want to show you guys. I don't know if you've seen it, but I tried to do this with Carmen a little bit ago, and I guess I need to mute to make it happen. So give me a second. I'm going to mute.
The light comes through my feet and it just starts creeping up through my body. And it's healing every little cell that it comes in contact with spiritually. It goes through my stomach and it goes through my chest, and it's so powerful. I can just feel this energy coming up through me, and it gets to my tongue, and these beautiful songs come out, that I can't stop. God's energy shot out my eyelashes, and it was so bright. And it was like looking at the sun without having any pain or your eyes dilate even, and no heat or anything. And so I tried to close my eyes because I didn't want any of the energy to get out. And so I'm closing my eyes, and it shoots out my eyelashes, and it goes out into the expanse and turns around and comes back. I can feel it going through the little curves in my brain. And then I feel like I get to this more core part of myself, and God's there. And it blew me away. I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. Do you mean to tell me you've been in there all the time? You're not this external thing? And he's like, well, I'm kind of both. And I'm like, so all of us, even the people that don't believe, God is in there. And he's like, you can't take me out any more than you could take out your own father's DNA. I made you. I'm in there. And you can choose to not acknowledge me. You can choose to walk around saying your dad's not your dad, but we can prove he is. I'm telling you, I'm in there. And I'm just waiting to love you. And, even through all of this crap you're going to go through. And I went through some hell there for a while, and I've had a lot of trauma in my life. And he kind of melted all of that away. And I started realizing I was going to have to make this decision about going back. And there was a point, actually, when I was still in the void, that I was able to progress and move and see myself in my hospital room. And so I see myself lying there in a coma, and I saw my daughter there. I knew what she had worn that day, and was able to describe that back to her. I knew what part of the room she'd stood in. So I get to this point where I'm in the light with God, and I have to come back. And it seemed like a decision that I probably had made before I was born, that I'd known this was going to happen and that I was going to choose to go back because I hadn't lived the life I was supposed to live. Not even close. In fact, I had avoided doing the things I was supposed to do. I can't tell you how heartbroken I was to leave. And Don says to me, my husband's like, well, why would you not want to come back to me? And I'm like, I can't make you understand that. Until you've been there, you just can't understand it. I knew you'd be okay eventually. And so I made that decision to come back, and I was crying. And And I told God, I said, at least let me remember it. Because if I can't remember this, I don't think I'll have any hope.
Yeah. So,
Mhm.
yeah. So if you didn't catch that, she had a near death experience. I've had something similar happen. Care to comment?
I would love to, because it's literally a technique I use on clients that fear death. Is I have them watch near-death experience videos, and when they get to a certain number of them, and this is across the board so far, they really do adopt a faith that allows for them to fear death less. And so if you're fearing death less, you have just raised your frequency massively. And you also, and this is where, this is how you know you actually do have salvation, is because you get to a place where contribution matters. You get to a place where unity matters. You really don't want to, you want every single last person on this earth saved. You get to a point where, things that used to be important weren't. You get to a point where your mission is more important than anything. And so when you get into that space, you have full power and authority in the face of any weapon, like Lucas was talking about. And I love how he added that piece at the end, which was really profound. About no weapon formed against me shall prosper. But that becomes our job to stop. And so that goes back to Romans 12:21, which is, be not overcome with evil, but overcome evil with good. And this is, I was watching Laura Eisenhower a couple nights ago, or it was one of the more recent ones, and she was hosting somebody from somebody that started a new social media, and it's encrypted and blockchain and really cool. But this is where I want to find myself. I want to find myself being somebody that begins building the new, that's not in order. and we look at it right now. We've got ranchers creating meat packing factories. This is huge. We've got homeschool boom. We have religious people becoming actual Christ followers, like really and truly starting to wake up. And now I heard today that we have a literal militia going to the Texas border. These are civilians who have gotten to a point of knowing their mission. And it gives me chills head to toe, because this is what we're here for, to click in and know that, okay, here's my spot. And I just recently started working, I've always worked as an advisor on my friend's sex trafficking safe home. And she has a huge and amazing vision, and I've been, helping her raise money. But I'm really ready to bring it to the next level, because I see that as soon as she opened, there was 4 girls waiting, and this is the beginning, and nothing is more satisfying. I've helped guys out of jail, and I've watched guys never go back to jail. And it is better than any Prada purse or pool or any other thing that I've purchased, is putting myself back into what we all are, which is the omnipresence of God. And that's what she was saying, that God is freaking everywhere. And so you can't deny his omnipresence. And once you realize that that's true, facing evil isn't even scary. Like I stopped going to meetings that bind demons or bind the devil, because I just can't deal with somebody having more faith in that than God.
That's powerful. Where attention goes, energy flows. And so if you want to be in the fight, guess what you're going to be? We're going to be in the fight. These people, I worked in a deliverance ministry for many years and learned a lot. Learned about authority and dominion, and what I share with people now who are not Christians, who are so turned off by the Christian world. Like, I like the King James Bible when reading, because it's the only Bible that keeps one word in there: Most High, the Most High God. This is very important, like the source of all that is, not just plain and dimensional stuff. If we walk in authority, then everything is under our feet. So then I I don't go to the dirt and I'm just focusing on the dirt all the time. I'm creating beauty in the garden, and tending that garden more. And what I would, Carmen, you said it, you're following Christ. What is Christ? Christ means Messiah. What is Messiah? The anointed one. To do what? To bring freedom. So a Christian should be one who liberates souls. It is not about Jesus. Jesus says, I and my Father one. He that abideth in me and I in him, the same bringeth forth much fruit. For without me, you can do nothing. So unless we abide in God, like in light, in love, we can't do anything. But when we do walk in that love and light, not from the Christian bend the knee, do you say this magic prayer? Congratulations. In 15 seconds, you said this prayer, you raise your hand, you close your eyes, and you're saved. Saved from what? What are we saved from? We have not gone in and looked at the truth of ourselves and say, am I in fear? Yes. And God is still knocking on my door and saying, will you come into me? Or will you allow me to come in? Because I was down in Texas this past week and this guy hands me a track and I said, oh, keep it, brother. I love it. I support you. I love it. And we got in this conversation and I said, Jesus said, many will come in that day and say, Lord, Lord, like, think of how that vernacular is. It's like, hey, Jesus, what's up? And he says, depart from me. I never knew you. Now, the whole Christian narrative and the whole God is in control is that you got to know God, know Jesus, trust Jesus. But Jesus is saying there is going to be a lot of people that come and he's saying, I never knew you. And they're like incredulous, like, what are you talking about? You never knew me. Didn't I prophesy in thy name, cast out devils, heal the sick? And his response is, he goes into this thing, but what I share, show me the verse where we're commanded to do that. None of the things that this whole Christian mindset has been built on is what we've been commanded to do. What we're commanded? To love God, not Jesus. Jesus said, love me. He would have said, love me. He says, hear, O Israel, hear everyone. Love God with every fiber of your being, every cell in your body, like love him and love your neighbor as yourself. And to honor their free will is to first honor my free will. And so that's what, I don't know, I'm going on a tangent, but I love, Carmen, what you're saying is the Christ follower, the freedom follower, one who brings freedom wherever they go. No more bondage, no more fear, no more coercion, no more manipulation, no more. It's like truth stands on its own. It doesn't need to be marketed. It doesn't have to have 52 messages a year and every third week it talks about tithing because we need money. It's just stands on its own and we get to go to it. Anyway, sorry guys, I'm just.
Well, and I'm going to go a step further because one of my mentors, Wade Taylor, if you're not familiar with him, he's freaking amazing. But he would go even a step further. It's like not a follower of Christ who is an anointing or a Messiah, the anointed one. But he would always say, how can you go where you already are? Whether it was about church or following Christ, it's like, to me, that's also separation in my, in a conscious language way. It's another program of, if you have to follow someone, then that means we're not in union yet because I'm behind you following you versus, or him, whatever, or her actually, well, Christ is, Jesus was a man, is a man, and God is whatever, everything. So, and the word Christian means to follow Christ. So again, how do you follow something that's inside already? It's more of a matter, like truth, like you said, Lucas, the truth exists. It's not hidden. And the truth is a person. So it's just us maneuvering through the programs, number one, and or all of the projections that are out there, whether it's Mockingbird or whatever, and filtering through, feeling our way through, this is true, that's not, or maybe this is true for now, but then like 5 years from now, I'll be like, oh gosh, maybe it's not. And it's kind of that, to me, onion peel of remembering one by one to finally get down to the lowest common denominator, which is it's in our DNA. God is in our DNA. And the GPS has been here all along. The God positioning system is like, where do we go? And when we don't know what to do or where to go, it's because we're not completely aligned yet. Because God knows. And we have the mind of Christ because God's in us again. And I just keep going back to God's in, God's in, God's in. And there's even a scripture that said, it's God who works in you to will and to act according to God's needs or requirements or whatever. And we're used to maneuver through that in all of this existence that we call here now and reality as we realize truth. And it's just continuously surrendering and being aware of. And, you know, I've shifted a million times. I may not even believe any of this that I'm saying right now tomorrow. Who knows? Because there's more awareness and more awareness and more awareness. But I do believe that in this time and season where there has been the triggering that Craig was talking about and all this like shifting, that we are emerging to really ask those questions of like, what do I really believe? And who am I going to follow? Or am I going to follow anyone? Or am I the one? And what do we do now? And there's been, I love the emerging people and all these organizations that are coming to an end and ideas that are coming to an end, whether it is the school. Oh my God, 1 million people have left public school already, you know, and the militias that she's talking about or whatever, where people are just, and now at the end of the month, oh my God, we're on a time thing because the V's are expiring at the end of this month and the mandates and what have you, where people are going to be like, the rubber meets the road. What am I going to do in this situation where I have to make a new choice or I stay where I am? And that is going to cause a whole new situation where there's going to be new opportunities for those who choose differently, whether it's a location or a job or whatever, all of those things. And I say this over and over is champions are not born in the ring. They are made there. You don't know who you are until you're in the choices that you are required to make. And then you see what choices you make. And then you're like, wow, I just did that. So we're on this fence, a lot of people, and some have already passed the fence like years ago, but there's a lot of people, and I'm praying for everybody and sending good vibes to the earth, especially in this last 9 days of the month, 10 days of the month, that good choices, that highest choices are made in this time. And it may be hard, but the result or the reward is expansion of God and within us and on the earth. Because freedom and liberty is also a spirit. Where the spirit of the Lord is, there is freedom. And when we exercise freedom in our own reality expansion, and that is a collective response as well. And we are in a new place as we make those choices. And like I said, a lot of people already did this in the last year or two. I know those in the medical field and what have you have been leaving for a long time already because they didn't want to lie. They didn't want to present. They were tired of tracing people and seeing what's going on, and they've just slowly left. But now with this deadline, they're being forced to choose. And actually, they're not being forced to choose. Some of them aren't even going to make a different decision. So there's no forcing. But Craig, what do you got to say on this?
Loads of things going through my head during the conversation. I think we need to remember that, that, like we said, that God is love, and these people that are having to make these really tough decisions, God has engineered things and the universe, creation in our favor. And when you stand in truth, you are basically declaring, I choose life, I choose the light. And it may seem totally illogical and completely crazy for a time, but I think as people choose to resonate on that frequency level, the magic will just cause the creation just to respond to their situation. And if they just remain in that place of love and grace, knowing who they are. And that's another issue is particularly with a lot of Christians who say things like, "Oh, just God is in control." They've no idea who they are. They don't realize that Jesus didn't come as an example for us, but of us. He came to show us who we are and what we're capable of. I say that quote. I've got a friend called Francois de Troyes. I don't know if anybody knows him. He's writing the Mirror Bible. So that's one of his quotes. And another one of his quotes, because I actually got to spend a couple of days with him a few years ago. He came over to England. And one of the most powerful things that he said, that just because so much, in the prophetic movement and the movements you were in, Sharnael, and it was all, people having encounters with Jesus. Jesus would step into the bedroom and things like this. And that's wonderful. But what he said, something that really sort of hit me. He said, having an external experience with Jesus is a lesser reality than awakening to the Christ already in you. And that was just like, whoa, I've spent years and hours praying, Jesus, visit me. I want to know you and I want to experience you. But it hit me. If that happened, that would be wonderful and it would be powerful. But it will be a lesser experience than awakening to what's already in me. And I think that's the time we're in right now, is that people are going, tag, we're it. We're here now. We're here to do the work. And we're here to manifest heaven on earth. Know who you are. This is all about Christ. This is all about the heavens. This is all about the cosmos. And all of creation is involved in what's happening on this planet right now. And we can, I think, is it the Chinese? The same word for challenge is also opportunity. And we can look at it. It all depends on our awareness and on our perspective. We can either see this as a disastrous, horrible time, or we can see this as a time of opportunity. And I choose to see the latter. It's hard. It's not easy. I'm really not happy about what's going on, but this is also the greatest opportunity we've ever had in our lifetimes to create what we're here to create. I think the systems that have enslaved us are being dealt with, and as our minds are being renewed to who and what we are. And this is the greatest time of opportunity, and we need to grab it by the whats and run with it. We really, really do. And that's my main encouragement, is stop surrendering your power to anything outside of you and be what you want to see in this planet. Be the change you want to see. Do the works that you want to be done. Don't look to anybody else. You're it. Tag.
That's such a good analogy. You're it. And SRS4859 is on here with us. And he says, or she says, like the line that Glenda the Good Witch says to Dorothy, you always had the power. You always had the power. Metaphor, Christ was always within you. And happens to be red shoes, which I know on some locations that's a bad thing, but also red meaning love and feet meaning action, to walk something out. And just that whole, it just, even this girl that had the near-death experience, she seemed like, what? You were inside the whole time? And she's seeing, the DNA and the neuroplasticity of her mind and the dendrites and the neurotransmitters. And she's like, wait, what? And, that was, I love how she explained it. And then she's got a different part where she talks about the power of the mind, and every time you think something, and what she could see, which I have been seeing for a while, since I was a kid, when I had a situation that happened in the field of when people are thinking or talking about things, how the field shifts. And so conscious language is a big deal for sure. What we're thinking about is so important. What we're talking about, what we're feeling is a big issue, and just being super hyper focused, aware of what we're feeling and what we're thinking, what we're talking about, who we're with, and location even. I mean, Lucas, you're in the middle of relocating. There's a lot of people relocating. I talked to realtors all over who are seeing mass relocations right now. You want to speak into that a little bit, Lucas?
Yeah, it's we're on the flight back. My wife and I were talking. It'd be so cool to see the earth and the migratory patterns of what's happening right now. And my brother-in-law, who is Orthodox Jewish believer, he said, we were talking about transition. He said, well, today's Torah portion was Abraham leaving. He said, people have been leaving for thousands and thousands of years. And when we leave, when we make a move, it takes one word, trust. Which is why I think this migration right now, we're seeing people that are trusting. It's not leaving something, it's going towards something. And that's really, I think that was really important when we went and checked out the area that we're going to. There were people from all over Chicago, New York, Los Angeles, Seattle. And everyone had this sense of like, okay, we've experienced the pure darkness. And now here's light. And what is our responsibility as wise stewards of this earth to teach and to hold space? Because I've been in fight mode for so long. And, you know, Sharnael, when we did my podcast, I felt bad afterwards. I'm like, man, I was like low vibe, like, but I just, you know, honest. And then in the contrast of the light, and people were kindness. It's like, wow, what are we doing to ourselves? We don't have to be stuck. We don't have to stay. I don't know. Anyway, that's all I can speak into is there is a beautiful migration happening right now. And it takes a lot of trust, and yet trust within, not without. No one's going to tell me, no one can give me the validation and say, you're doing the right thing. I had to go within and be like, all right, God, I need you to bring me everything. I am tired of in my own thoughts, mind, strategy, intelligence, planning. Like, how's it going to be? I'm exhausted. God, I need you to bring me everything. And all of a sudden, boom, 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 boom. I mean, it's just like, and I'm reminded of what surrender really is. Surrender is power. It is not weakness. And what it is tapping into the ultimate power. It's not that I am the source of all power. It's that I have surrendered to the source of all power, and all power flows through me and in me and of me and by me. And together we can raise each other up from the dead. Truly, I think these biblical teachings, I'm a literalist when it comes to scripture, and yet I don't think we've been literal enough. And that's the irony of this whole Christian world. I don't think you're literal enough. I think actually, like, raising from the dead is, what is death? What is devil? D-E-V-I-L is the inversion of lived. What is evil? E-V-I-L, the inversion of live. So there's this constant force of pulling us to death. And this is a thing that's so fascinating. In Genesis chapter 3, God tells the serpent, I will put enmity between thy seed, the Canaanite seed, and her seed, the Seth line, the Adamic line. And dust shalt thou eat all the days of thy life. Now he tells the serpent first what he's going to do in Genesis chapter 3, verse 15. And then he goes right to Adam. And he says, for dust thou art, and dust thou shalt return. Now, if that's not a wake-up call to be like, wait, what? You just told the force that is here to consume humanity that I am being the food for that force? Yes. For without me, you can do nothing. Don't forget. Surrender to my power. Steward the garden well. And anyway, that's why I feel it's like this migration and trust. And it's beautiful. And being here with you, we could be in the same room together or online. It doesn't matter. Like, the energy and the beauty and the love. And this is, people are starving for it.
That's awesome. I love it. I know you guys have other interviews in like 7 minutes, and I have one too. And any like final words, Carmen, Craig, before we
Sure.
scoot on?
I think that it all comes down to free will. And I think a lot of people think free will is that temptation point. And to me, it is a very, very, very simple decision to stay in the secret place of the Most High. And when you're in the secret place of the Most High, it's almost like you have like this stealth ability And that makes it seem trite compared to how powerful it actually is. And so to make that decision is really all it is. And when I talked about following Christ, it's just my way of expressing to people for them to understand. It is really just a choice to exemplify from a heart space connected to a head space of the choice, and then living it out through action and words and deeds. And so if you want to be fearless, make that choice to stay in the secret place of the Most High.
Good. I agree.
Me too. The only other thing I thought of was, again, when Lucas was talking before about surrender, that's become a bit of a dirty word in many respects. Because again, sometimes it speaks of lack of action, but that's not actually true. Following everything that's been said about being God in action, and there is a balance, because if we step out in our ego, in our own strength, and try and do stuff, we're not going to get very far. Surrender is accepting that we are God in action, that God moves through us, yes. And to rest in that, and to actually function in this world from a place of rest and divine awareness of divine union, and allow God to move through us. And that to me has been, because I'm, I can be pretty bullheaded when I want to be. And I get out there and want to do stuff, and then I just mess everything up, because I've gone out in my own will and my own strength and power, like you were saying, Carmen. This lesson just to be at rest within, in the secret place, like you were saying, Carmen, and from that place, then we move into being God in action. We have to have that balance, and I think that's a really, really important point to make and to finish with, from my perspective, just because it's not about protests. It's not about getting out there and shooting people up, or, this is about being the change. And we do this from a place of love, of awareness of divine union, and a love of humanity. Even those who would call themselves our enemies, everything we're doing now is for them as well. They're just not necessarily aware of it yet. The ones who love them in them and want everyone else to be, God bless them with awareness and awakening, because they're going to need it with where we're going. So that will be my final thought.
Awesome. Love it. And for all you guys who are watching, I hope you will, I'm going to put all the links in for all of these guys, and you'll be able to follow what they're doing and continue any connections with them. And I think you guys are probably all going to connect with each other too. I hope so. And we, as a collective, I invite to pray, really, and just lift up and to continue to stay in a place of peace and rest and truth, and, programming God truth as much as possible, especially in these next 10 days specifically, of really doing things to focus on anything that would cause more, that would expand more peace in our lives, nature, eating good, all the things, because I have that free will thing, Carmen was talking about. It's like, I've had some people who are like, well, I'm going to go ahead and do it, but I'm just praying that God will bless it, and he's got this. And, that's like saying, I'm going to jump off a cliff and hope that God saves me. I mean, there's a physical consequence to all of the things. And I've actually I talked to another person who's, a pretty big name celebrity ministry person. And I just said, well, what are you teaching people in this hour? And they were like, well, we're just focusing on getting our healing anointing, so when we get the thing, then we know how to fix it. And I was just like, or how about telling people not to give up their whole DNA for God to come in and fix it after, you know what I mean? So it's like, oh Lord, there's choices being made right now, and really big choices being made right now in this next 10 days. And so we are praying for you, and us as people here together talking are sending our love to you, and we're asking you to send love to us as well in the middle of our transitions, because we are in progress and process as well. And the more that we can remember each other and stay and be positive, and from that spirit of love, like Craig was talking about, not a fight and let me force you to think this way, or, you know, please come to my side. It's not about sides or any kind of, otherwise, if we're trying to get everyone to do what we do or think like we do, then we're operating in the same spirit. It's more, I'm not fighting. I'm focusing on presenting in love with the spirit of truth and service. And for those who are, you know, it's for them, then it's for them. And if it's not, it's not. And I'm not like upset about it. Like I used to take that personally, and now I'm just like, I'm sad for you. And also good luck with that. And but go to swiftfire.org, get on the newsletter. Please do subscribe to this. You know, so anything that's coming up, I have like 3 other interviews today. Love all of you. Audiobooks coming out by the end of this week too. So prayers for that. And just all my love to you guys watching, and to you for taking time to be with me today. Craig, Carmen, Lucas, and love your service, love who you are, love what you're doing and all the places that you're doing it, and just mucho grace and love to you guys.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Until we meet again.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Yes.
Indeed.
All right. Talk soon, guys. Love you.
See you later. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.